Hi, my name's Danny Fleming,
and I'm Marcus Collins from MA Properties with another
masterclass. This one's the 5 pillars to maximize sales price. So if you're thinking about selling in 3 months' time or 3 years' time or 5 years' time, understanding some of these components will help get you more money for your home. So let's get going. Okay. Smart moves are made here, and that's why you're here, and that's fantastic. We're pleased to see you, and it's true when you talk about this that buying and selling a home, it's too important to leave to chance. It's too important to let every decision be guided by emotions and first impressions alone, which is why we think it's absolutely critical to give you information, education, not sales. So our agenda this evening consists of the 5 pillars to begin with. One of them, smart decisions, preparation, staging, marketing, excellence through teamwork. And one of the components of selling a home is most people need to buy a home. So we want to take you a little bit through some of the components of buying as well. We're not going to dive in deep in there, only because we do buyer masterclasses as well, and we'll give you the details of when the next buyer masterclass is. But
later on, you have to watch the masterclass to know when the
that's the
that's
right.
That's the hook. That is the hook.
Sucking you in.
That's right, exactly.
All right, so the first one, smart decisions. Marcus.
So it's easy to get information today. What's much more difficult, of course, is to get that analysis. And that's really what we're all about here. This is why we take the time to explain what's going on with the market. We take it seriously. We look at all the details of what's happening in the market. Lots and lots of statistics, both here this evening, on our website, in our market review, which I am in the middle of writing as we speak. Hopefully it'll be at the printers next week. And then in your mailboxes in a couple of weeks' time, I would think.
And tonight's session, we're going to go over a little bit of the details of what's going on with the market, just a bit of a summary. But for an in-depth look of exactly what happened in 2020, join us next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. And we'll be going into detail exactly like what you can see our normal market review that we send out to every mailbox in Lexington. We should have all of the graphs together by then and some analysis and all of that sort of stuff. So we're going to give you a sneak peek of it. Go into detail.
It is going to be really hard because usually when I get going with this, I can't stop. So stop me if I start going into way too much detail. All right, so headline numbers. Where are we? 2020, clearly a very disruptive year, interesting year, a lot changing.
One for the history books.
Right, many of the norms that we would have talked about shifted slightly in terms of people's desires and requirements. Either way, the median sale price, which you see here for Lexington, rose to $1.35 million from about $1.2 million in 2019. That's about a 12.5% rise. The average changed as well, so a substantial rise in that price. But hold that thought for just a moment as we talk a little bit more detail about why at least some of that price appreciation has arisen. What's much more interesting and is less nuanced too is how many homes sold. A lot more homes sold 2020 than did previously. Now,
a dramatic increase, just a little bit of an increase, a dramatic
about 25%
increase.
from recollection. There's a lot of, in order to understand this, you really need to look at what's happened since 2015, and that we'll cover in a week's time. But there was a pent-up demand within Lexington for sellers to put their home on the market. The perception of a downturn, which we actually had before COVID kicked in, as well as then COVID, meant that a lot more sellers came on the market in 2020 than in 2019. We anticipated more than 2019. We clearly did not anticipate.
We didn't anticipate
this kind of
many.
number.
Yeah.
So you can see this, perhaps a little clearer, and you can certainly see the impact of COVID in this a little clearer if you look at the cumulative. The reddish color there is 2019, and the blue is 2020. As you can see in that second half of March, all the way through to the end of May, 2020 lagged behind 2019, but caught up quite quickly. We saw this. Middle of March was really when the impact of COVID kicked into the housing market. Very few listings coming on in March, April. Early May, it began to pick up, and then as May progressed, so it picked up even more. And you can see that here. We had caught up with 2019 by kind of mid-June timeframe. But then it just took off. There were a lot more homes coming on the market as the initial impact of COVID was behind us. As the buyers came back into the market, and therefore the sellers came back into the market, so 2020 took off. So we ended up with a much higher number than we saw in 2019.
And what we should point out is that the number of sales has skyrocketed, but there's still huge demand out there. Huge demand for homes coming on the market. When a home comes on the market, realistically priced, huge. We bought a home on the market the last weekend before Thanksgiving, and we had 58 private showings between the Thursday coming on and the Tuesday at 9 a.m., which is when we reviewed offers. So, and anyone that makes a private showing is a serious buyer. So there were 58 private showings, one buyer was successful. So even at that price point, there's still another 57 buyers late in the season, which normally we wouldn't bring homes on the market that late in the season. But you can see that the buyers are still out there. They're just waiting for homes to come on the market.
Right, and the reason is, part of the reason anyway, is pretty clear. Whereas before, perhaps both parents were working in Boston or Cambridge out of the home, children were off at school. Now, of course, everybody is in the home, and so there was this demand, a strong demand for a larger home. And when you think about Lexington in comparison, for example, to Arlington, the next town in general, the homes are larger, and therefore Lexington found itself in this sweet spot to some extent of a slightly larger home. Not just Lexington, I should add, but specifically Lexington we're talking about this evening, found itself in a great position that there were those slightly larger homes that could accommodate one or two adults working from home, children being homeschooled, and so on. And so that was why we saw a large demand for homes within Lexington. But as well as the large demand for homes within Lexington, we saw an increased supply too. That isn't always the case in many towns. There is that demand, but if the supply isn't there, then clearly it can't be met. We did see in Lexington strong demand, but also strong supply, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's why the number of sales increased as dramatically as they did. We saw a slight uptick in the sale price to list price ratio to about 100%. It's not as high as we would see, for example, in a lower price town. I'll pick Arlington's example. Their average last year was 102%, but it's still a slight uptick from what we saw in 2019. Yeah. We're slightly depressed. One of the reasons we saw that large increase in the median price is not true price appreciation. What we saw is a large number of expensive homes coming on the market.
And selling.
And selling, yes, and selling, of course. So we
had both.
We had both there. So we had a lot coming on and a lot selling. Not all of them sold, clearly. A large number didn't as well. But as you can see from this graph, which is the number of single-family sales for over $2 million properties, a large increase 2020 to 2019. And that skewed essentially some of that median and the average as well, of course. And so it's not necessarily that we saw that 6, 7, 8, 9% price appreciation. I think average was about 6, median was about 9. It's not that we necessarily saw that degree of price appreciation. Some of it is a consequence
the change of the sales distribution.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll stop now, because otherwise I'll go on and on. So that's for next week. Right, we get a lot more detail next week.
And we'll spend a lot of time on the Lexington market next Wednesday, because it's the 2020 market review, there's a huge amount of things have happened this year, as we all know, and from the real estate market specifically as well.
So
we'll go into it.
Luxury, new construction. We look at the rental market as well. Talk a little bit about the rental market in Boston. That's been severely impacted. So lots to talk about. So anyway, 2020 summary. Large number of sellers in the market with the perception and then the reality of an economic downturn as well as COVID. Many sellers who had been thinking of selling, perhaps putting it off, waiting for a reason to sell, finally put their home on the market, and that's why we saw an increased number of sales, matching the number of buyers that we saw. Increased number of buyers in the market, as Danny mentioned, large number of showings on homes, even very late into the season. So a shift really. We would have said in 2019, the somewhat softening seller's market, very much to a seller's market with positive price appreciation. So you can see that, so perhaps not quite the 9%, but certainly a positive price appreciation in the town. Still a lot going on, clearly. The pandemic is still with us, will be for the next 6 to 12 months probably. We have a global recession, and it's fair to say that hasn't really kicked in to the degree, if you look at the stock market anyway. I think we've still got some way to go with that one. New administration next week, I guess, week after next.
Next week.
Next week.
Next week. I think that's in exactly Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, next Wednesday. That's Inauguration Day.
Oh, they'll
no, it'll be finished by then. Okay.
They're going to make it. It's going to be much smaller anyway, right? Unless you got an invite to one of the balls, I guess. Which, if you have that, then you're going to have to watch.
No, they're not doing that this
are they
year.
not?
I'm
Okay,
sure they wouldn't be doing that this year. I'm assuming. Anyway, sorry.
And then, so,
let's get back to this.
Right. And so, that vaccination clearly being rolled out as we speak. Phase 2 starts at the end of this month, in early February. So it's, slowly but surely picking up, and as they get smarter at doing it, if you will, so it'll get better. So overall, though,
normal.
yes, and I think we're looking mid 2021. Towards the end of 21, when we begin to kind of get some normality, that infection rate begins to decline and stay lower just because of the vaccination. So overall, though, the Lexington market fared very well, predominantly because there are larger homes within the town. So this is where I get brave, because it's the 13th of January. So what's going to happen in 2021? Given the number of buyers that were unsuccessful, back to Danny's story about the home just before Thanksgiving, there is still this pent-up demand for homes, for homes in Lexington, just because of their increased size. It seems unlikely that everybody's going to rush back to go and work in Boston or Cambridge. That seems unlikely. Perhaps they will 1 day, 2 day, 3 days a week. So the requirement for a larger home will remain certainly through this year and probably moving forward too. So Lexington will still find itself in that position where homes slightly larger than some of the towns around it, and so it will still be in demand. We've had, say, a pickup in the number of sellers. Will that continue in 2021? Probably, although realistically not at the same scale, I think, that we saw in 2020. So overall, large number of buyers looking to buy in the town because of the slightly larger home, as well as a good school system, vibrant town centre, and still, even though it's a lower priority to some extent, or perhaps a lower priority, still a good commute into Boston and so on. So the fundamentals of Lexington remain the same. The increase of the slightly larger homes, means that it's even more in demand. So overall, a very positive picture for 2021. I think we will get back to normal with open houses and those kind of things. More about that in a minute. Sometime later in the year, perhaps second half of 2021. But I think we can expect, depending on what the weather does, of course, that as we get into February and then March, perhaps even earlier if we have a mild winter again, we can expect the housing market to pick up quite strongly with those buyers who are still looking to move into the town continue.
And what we're doing, we're starting to bring homes on the market next week. The buyers are out there while there's no snowstorms and there's little inventory. It's a great time for a seller to come on the market. So we're starting to bring homes on the market 21st of January, which we never normally, we normally wait until the winter breaks, but we haven't really hit it yet. I'm just wondering whether this polar vortex is going to mean that, late January.
Oh, Danny's discovered the winter there. There we go. Discovered the mild winter anyway. Let's go with the winter. Discovered the mild winter. We'll see how that progresses, I guess. All right, so that's kind of where we are with where we think. Early days for 2021, clearly. But overall, I think a very positive picture for the Lexington housing market as we move now, come out of this disturbance that we've been in the last few years.
Yeah. So now with smart decisions, one of the things that we think it's really, really important to do is let people know information that could increase their
sale price.
Thank you.
That was the title of the
I know, but I'm getting to the next one, which you're talking. Okay, keep going.
So, and one of those topics, a perennial topic really in Lexington, is my house a teardown? So, to answer that question, and it's kind of basic level, a home is a teardown where the land value is worth more than what a home buyer would pay. Now, remember what we mentioned previously about how in demand Lexington is. Bearing in mind, teardowns in general are lower priced homes, 6, 7, 8, 900,000, or it's predominantly in that 6 and 7. A very, very, competitive housing.
Huge demand.
Demand in that, competitive in terms of a buyer perspective for that price point. So the situation where the land value is actually worth more than what a home buyer would pay rarely occurs. It does occur, clearly, and we can give examples of that, but it's rare that it does occur. So that's the first thing to state. Is my home a teardown? The answer is almost inevitably, probably not. Mm-hmm. Let's look at the numbers to make sure. Mm-hmm. And it's important to remember who's actually telling you whether the home is a teardown or not. Now, clearly the builders will say they're going to offer you top dollar, and so on. It's pretty clear that if there is no competition, if you're talking to a single individual, they're not going to be offering top dollar, because the more money they offer for the teardown, the less money they make in profit. So it's pretty clear when a builder is talking to you that they're looking to buy that house for the lowest amount of money that they possibly can to maximize their profits. Pretty close to it. Yep. Not quite as simple when it comes to agents.
There's not as much clarity for people when it comes to
a little more nuance. So here's a little bit of the story that's going on there. And so an agent may come in and look at your home and go, I think your home is probably a good candidate for a teardown. Why don't I introduce you to a builder that I know? You work out how much you want to spend, how much you want to pay, how much you want for your home. You do all of that with the builder. I'll take a step back. What's actually happening there is that the agent is introducing the buyer to the builder.
Sorry, the seller.
Seller to the builder, excuse me. But when that home comes on the market, that new construction home comes on the market, then that agent will be the listing agent. So essentially, they are forgoing the commission on, let's say, a $600,000 home in favor of the commission on a 2.5, whatever the price is for the new construction. Clearly, substantially more than the teardown is. So that's what's happening when it comes to when an agent tells you that.
So it's really important to just sort of have an idea of, well, who's telling you it's a teardown? What is the agenda? Is there a different agenda perhaps than getting you the highest price for your home? Just being aware of that is really valuable.
All right. And we thought it'd be useful to give you an example of what potentially...
There's a typo in that.
Still.
Yeah.
You showed me that yesterday.
And I have to change it.
And I'll correct it on the fly here.
No, I did.
Okay. So here's an example. The picture, the upper picture there, the house is a bit of a mess, clearly. And you might imagine that home would be a good candidate to be a teardown. But let's go through some of the numbers here. So it turns out that the seller in this case had talked to a number of builders. And the highest price a builder was willing to pay was $770,000, not 707. Slide deck 770.
Sorry about that.
We talked to the seller and said, if you tidied up, if you cleaned up, this house will yield you more money than a builder will pay for that home. in the end, the seller spent about $20,000 smartening the home up. Now that's at the high end of what we would envisage spending. Danny will talk a lot more about what's appropriate to spend, how much, and on what.
And he was wanting to spend more, and we kept on saying, no, we're good now, you've done enough, that type of thing.
So in this case, we listed the home, having done that smartening up, and you can see the outcome of it in the lower photograph there. That's in fact, almost the same shot of the kitchen. Predominantly paint, new vinyl floor, and I think that was about it in that room anyway. We listed it for $839, so we're already ahead of the game. Already ahead of what a builder will pay for that home. But the result of it when we came on the market was that we got 7 offers on that home and it sold for $900,000. So here we are, we sold the home for $900,000. The highest a builder would pay would be $770,000 with $200,000 renovation costs. 20,000 renovation costs. Then the net increase there, is substantial. And so even in this example where you think it looks like it might be a teardown, reality is it isn't. Just another example, basically the same maths we went through here, and in the end the outcome was very much the same. A net increase over what a builder would pay for that home. So we have example after example of where a home that looks on the face of it to be a teardown actually in actuality was not. Actually the seller yielded a much higher sale price, a much higher profit, if you like, in this case, by selling to a homeowner. Having seen this, to say time and time again, we have come up with a program called Buyer or Builder. The idea here is that to give the home seller the information they need to make this decision. And the 2 bits of information you need is how much would your home sell to a home buyer, and how much is a builder willing to pay for your home. Having got those 2 bits of information, you can now make a valid judgment in terms of which way you should go. If a builder is going to pay more or it's about the same price and you don't have any preparation costs, then perhaps it is truly a teardown and it would make more sense to sell to a builder. But most of the time it does actually make sense to sell to a buyer. But having those 2 bits of information is what you needed as a prospective seller to be able to make the right decision in this environment. And that's what the Buyer or Builder scheme does. It gives you all the information, allow you to make the decision and make a value judgment about which way you want to go. So that is your home a teardown and the Buyer or Builder scheme that you see there.
Okay, so let's get going. It's my turn for a bit. So what does selling in 2021 look like? Now, there are very few open houses. The biggest challenge with them, sometimes we do see some agents doing open houses. It's interesting because we typically see that the agent that does open houses typically has got no marketing behind them and no marketing for the home. So they're basically doing an open house and going for it because that's one of the only ways that the seller can the buyers can see the home. We haven't been doing open houses now since the end of March, and you can really lose the buyers by doing them. So, for instance, just last weekend, we took some buyers around to look at homes. One of the homes that we went to see, the only time a buyer could get in to see the home was between 11 and 1 on Saturday and Sunday. And the agent made the comment in MLS about the fact that they're only allowing limited numbers of people in the home at any one point in time, so be prepared to wait. So we turned up during the open house time and we looked at the crowds of people waiting outside to go in. There were probably something like 18 groups of people already waiting to go inside. And if you can imagine, you've got one group in the house wandering around. Let's say they take 20 minutes. Some people take a lot longer than that, but 20 minutes. And you've got 18 other groups waiting to go in. How long is it going to take that 18th group of people to get inside the house, let alone the other people that are arriving after that? So we looked at that and thought, we're not waiting. How many? 18, 20, 360, 360 minutes.
Hours.
We weren't waiting. So we just kept on going. You lose buyers doing open houses. Or you've got the other option of the open houses. We have agent meetings every Monday, and one of our agents turned up to, on the Zoom call, was telling us about how they took a buyer group through to a home, and the agent was just letting anyone inside. And she made the comment that the buyers, they were in the home and, oh, there's too many people in the living room. Oh, no, there's too many people in the dining room. Where are we going to go? And then they started to go upstairs, and there was someone coming down, and they were just, they spent all of their time in that open, they eventually left pretty quickly because they spent all of their time worrying about where the other people were to be socially distanced. They spent zero time looking at the house. And part of the challenge with open houses is that the key to getting the highest price for a home and having a buyer fall in love with your home is them walking in the door and having a positive visceral feel. And they can stand there and just quietly sort of imagine themselves living in the home. They can't do that if they know there's lots and lots of people waiting behind them, waiting to get into the home, or there's people milling around and they're sort of worried about their health. So it is such a detriment to having an open house is such a detriment to getting a high price for a home these days. It's shameful. But I can get on my soapbox if you like.
Don't, keep going.
Because the serious...
You made me stop when it came to the stats, so you can't...
The serious buyers will see the home during private showings. The serious buyers have buyer's agents. They will make an appointment to get in and see the home, and they come into the home and then I like this place. Because they've already checked it out online with the 3D tour and the video and all of those types of things. They've checked it out. And there's no overlap of buyer groups, so they don't have to feel concerned that there's other people milling around. It is really quite incredible. We are not doing physical feature sheets at the moment. That may change as we get further into 2021. We started seeing people being very reluctant to pick them up. There's some reluctance to taking feature sheets. So, but we have them digitally on the website and all of this. The marketing's all virtual. Video, 3D tour, website, floor plans. Buyers are making decisions about which homes to go and see based on the virtual assets that are there. I had a buyer at May-June timeframe where the home came on the market. It's the perfect home for them. It was the perfect location for them. And they contacted me and I let them know that it was on the market. They said, are there any 3D tour or floor plans or videos? Is there anything? Because there were only, I think, about 10, 20, 15 photos. And so I contacted the agent. No, nothing. And they said, okay, we're not going to risk our health. We're not going to go in and see this home. This was back in where we really didn't know how this was happening. They dismissed it. They weren't going to even look at it. I ended up doing a Zoom call with them the next day where I walked around the home and showed them the home. And to cut a long story short, they ended up buying the home. But they had dismissed the home because there were no virtual assets for them to see whether it was worth them getting in to see the home. It's really critical. We do recommend completing a seller's disclosure. Massachusetts is a voluntary disclosure state. You don't have to. But with the buyers not having as much time in the home as what they normally do, seller's disclosure is giving them a little bit more of warm and fuzzies. Or if you have an inspection report that you've just done recently and you're comfortable with the results found, we can have that added to MLS. Closings, everyone's figured out how to do virtual closings. So they're all virtual. But it's critical to know the big questions to ask and to know what's happening and why. And the key part is to trust the people who represent you, because what you know or don't know will impact your outcome. And that's important, because buying or selling a home is one of the most expensive assets that you can own. You've got to trust in what the advice that you're getting and things like this. So one of the smart decisions is one of the key factors, one of the key pillars of maximizing your sales price. The next one is preparation. Today's buyers need and want move-in ready homes. It's so important for them. They don't know who to call. They don't want contractors in the home, that type of thing, because they don't know who to call anyway. They don't have anyone that they trust. So I wanted to show you some examples, because it's not only preparation and staging. Preparation is important. And I've got a series of photos that show you the preparation and staging. So this was a home, we bought it on the market in Malden. This was the before photo. This was the preparation phase. So, the home had been painted, floors refinished, that sort of stuff. Still doesn't with no staging, it doesn't feel very exciting. Now, I have to tell you, with the staging, we had 125 private showings of this home in the 4-day period. So the serious buyers will get in to see a home if it appeals to them. So here's the movement from the preparation phase through to the staging phase. Makes a key
Huge difference.
Thank you. I'm getting tongue-tied tonight. Here's another before. Here's another after. Still doesn't look all that exciting. Most buyers don't have a good spatial awareness. So, most people don't have a good spatial awareness. So having furniture in the room helps them identify, oh yeah, this is really good. Here's another one. This is the dining room. Just with some paint, looks a lot fresher, but with furniture in the home, looks much better. Here's a bedroom. You can see, the home was in a bit of a rough shape. The carpets needed to come up. We put down sheet vinyl, painted the home, and now with staging, dramatic improvement in seeing the home. Remember, the photos with the staging, that's what is on MLS. That's what is on the website. That's what the buyers are seeing when they're looking at the home, trying to decide, will we go and see this home? So it's absolutely so important. But preparation, there's no one answer fits all. We really need to come in and have a look at your home, socially distanced, of course, with masks. And it doesn't matter whether you're thinking of selling in 3 weeks' time or in 3 years' time. I was in a home a couple of months ago, and they're not thinking about selling for another 6 years, but they were starting to plan to paint the inside of the home, and they sort of said, we just wouldn't mind painting them the colours that buyers like, and then we can just touch up when it comes time. It's not going to be as onerous a task. And we'll come in and give you advice on what are the highest return on investment tasks to do. And most of the highest return ones are not big dollar activities. In fact, I can tell you now, painting is the biggest thing you can do. We'll also give you advice on what not to do. There's quite a few which will cost money, but the buyers will not pay any extra for the home if you've done them. And don't do major renovations unless you're planning on being in the home for at least 2 years and you enjoy the renovations before you sell. Then do those, but don't do a renovation purely and simply to bring the home on the market, because there's too much angst and too much turmoil in your lives, and you may not get as big an increase as what you're hoping. Sometimes just these low-cost things like painting is enough to get a great return on investment. And it can range from, we can give you the names of contractors to use. We can help you get quotes done for work that we would recommend. We can help coordinate with the contractors. We can oversee the project along with you, in conjunction with you. But where it comes down to it is you decide how much help you want. It's your decision. We can just give you the names and you can go and organize it. Absolutely no problems. Or one person coined the phrase, one seller coined the phrase a couple of years ago, that he wanted to be an interested observer. He wanted us to do everything and he'll watch and he'll pay the bills. And I love that phrase, an interested observer. It was, and that's what he did. Actually, we bought a home on the market just recently.
Late last year.
The sellers actually moved out. They moved out totally. And then we came in with a crew of contractors and
they basically took what they wanted.
Yep.
They moved into their new home. They left everything else behind, and then we organised everything from the removal of the old furniture and the old belongings in the home, essentially all the way through the closing. They basically left us to manage all aspects of it through preparation, staging, marketing on the market, as well as all the way through to closing. So that was an example where they were definitely I'm not even sure they were an interested observer. They were interested, but not really observing. So I don't know what you would classify that one as. But it's like, hand it off to us, away you go. We also did it a few years ago, if you remember, where a client was moving to California. And they moved out. They basically said, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to California. We came in, we did some renovations to the home. Smartening up. We did some staging and so on. Again, took it all the way to closing. So we do this quite often. Example after example we can give you of where we've kind of managed the whole process from soup to nuts.
So it really comes down to what do you need and what do you want. We can help with it all. Or as little as you want. So here's some examples. Just wanted to show you some. Wallpaper, not a great look. Paint and refinish floors, some staging. It makes a dramatic difference. Here's another home with carpet and odd-coloured ceiling and trim and things, but it smartens up tremendously with fresh paint. This is one that a lot of people don't really not recognize. Really? Wood kitchens, wood cabinets. The buyers are not overly keen with wood cabinetry at the moment. And yes, we have wood cabinetry kitchen. We're not going to paint it yet. We're going to wait until we sell and see what the fashion is then.
Hopefully it's wood. Hopefully wood comes back. But I don't know. It's been white for a while, hasn't it?
But this particular home, it had been on the market for 103 days, unsold with another agent. The sellers got us in, and I talked to them about just painting the kitchen. Painting the kitchen cabinets, and I think we painted a bathroom cabinet and a mantle around the fireplace, and that's all we did. Actually we bought a couple of appliances too, stainless steel appliances. But here's the kitchen after the paint. It smartens the home up tremendously because most builders are building new construction with white kitchens. That's what the current style is. So as soon as you paint a kitchen an off-white colour, this is new, isn't it? The buyers come in and it's just, I can, and you can see this because
move right in.
Yeah, and look, there you can see the cabinet in the back. I mean, we did get them to take down the curtains. That's right. But after we did the kitchen cabinets and the bathroom cabinet and around the fireplace, we had competing offers on the home and sold it for way over the asking price. That's the difference that paint makes. Here's another one. This was a home oak cabinetry. We came in and painted the kitchen cabinets. That's all we did. You can see the same appliances, same everything. obviously we staged the home, but I would have gotten them to paint the light if I had have thought about it, but that's okay. We had competing offers with this home, and it had a tremendous result. Actually, this home was at the top of the steepest driveway I've ever seen. I wasn't even game to drive up it, and I'm quite comfortable with driving. I wasn't driving up that driveway. I'd park at the bottom of the hill, and I'd take the stairs all the way up. We had competing offers for the home because the fresh paint and the freshness of the home with paint makes a huge difference. Here's another one. Again, kitchen cabinets. We came in, we just painted the cabinets, and we left the appliances how they were. The floor, the vinyl floor had a few tears in it, so we put some more sheet vinyl down, and competing offers with that home. What some folks don't realize is these tiles paint up beautifully. You know the tiles that you'll see, the orange tiles with the black trim, or the green tiles with the dark green trim, or the blue tiles, or the pink tiles, or the yellow tiles. They date a home, they date a bathroom, but they paint up beautifully. Benjamin Moore have a product, it's a bonding primer. I've forgotten the name of it at the moment, Sticks or something. Anyway, I can find that out if you need the info. But that bonding primer goes on the tiles and then normal paint on top, and nothing else has changed in this bathroom apart from paint on the tiles and the wallpaper removed and paint there. So you've still got the same fixtures as before. But what happens is when a buyer walks into an older bathroom, in its original state, they walk in and they think, oh, I've got to renovate this bathroom. I can't move in with this bathroom. I've got to renovate this bathroom because it's older and it feels older. So, but what happens is when and buyers struggle with, a lot of people struggle with how much things will cost to do. Taking wallpaper down off walls. I once had a buyer walk in. We had wallpaper on the walls in a living room and a dining room in a home, and the buyer walked in and I could see that they were looking at the wallpaper and being concerned about it. And I thought it was okay because it was a subtle striped wallpaper, and I'd gotten the sellers to take all of the really, really vibrant wallpaper off, and I thought we were okay leaving the subtle one. And the buyers walked in and they were looking at this wallpaper, and I said, can I ask you a question? What's bothering you about this wallpaper? And they said, well, it's something my grandma would have in her house. And I thought, oh, okay, yes, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right. But it wouldn't cost much to take it down and paint the walls. And the buyer looked around again, and this is in the living room and the dining room. He looked around and he said, yeah, it'll probably cost me $20,000 to paint. And I said, no, you could easily get away with this less than $2,000. Yeah, you're just trying to sell me the house. So the buyer, it's folks that don't have experience day in and day out with how much things cost to do will always inflate the cost of how much something will cost to do. So, a buyer walking into this older dated bathroom would think it would cost a huge amount of money to renovate, to do that. So they're going to take that money off the cost of off what they're going to offer on the home. Whereas when it's freshened like this, they walk in and they think, oh, yeah, we can just move in like this, and we might renovate in a few years' time, but no, we can move in because it's fresh and clean and subtle. With the painted tiles. But it's not just tiles that can be painted. This is a before photo. You can see the older tiles, and you can see the laminate swirly patterned. As you can tell, I like blue. I probably would have liked that. that
you should have made him an offer for it.
But
and the rug as well. While you were at it. No.
That that same bonding primer works on laminate. So this is the same cabinet, just with some bonding primer and normal paint on it. But here you can see how fresh this bathroom looks and the difference that it makes. And the paint is cheap. I mean, it's a low cost, high return on investment activity that you can do. Here's another one. Your older tiles, an older laminate vanity, and this is that with just some fresh paint on it. So again, it makes a difference. This is a funny story, this one. This was a home that had been on the market for about 6 months with another agent, not selling. The seller got me in to talk to them about selling the home. And again, it was an example where I really felt that if the kitchen had been painted, the kitchen cabinets had been painted, the home would have felt much newer to buyers coming in to see the home. And the seller's sort of, not sure if I believe you, but ended up trusting us, and we got the kitchen painted. And then the seller actually contacted me after the painter was finished, and I was going to go in and have a look at the home the next day, and said, oh, by the way, I loved the way that the kitchen was painted. I loved how it turned out. So I decided to do the bathroom as well. It just makes a difference. So I think I've belabored that point now. Paint is an awesome thing to do. But
so
it's
talk
not
about
just
paint.
inside.
So talk some more about paint.
Yeah, I'm going to. It's not just inside. This is a home that was for sale by owner for about a year. Then it was on the market for another year, a year plus with another agent. And then it was a for sale by owner again. And the seller got me in to talk to them about selling the home. And I suggested they needed to paint the trim and the garage doors around the home, because this was a pale blue siding, and it was sort of a burgundy plum trim, and it didn't appeal, and the trees didn't appeal. And so after paint, we had competing offers for the home and sold it for over the asking price. So the amount of money that it cost to do that things was well and truly worth it. Here's another one where the home landscaping makes all the difference. When you look at this home hadn't had any work done on it for about 20 years. The home was about 20 years old. Got the seller to paint and take down some of these older trees, and look, you can actually see that there's a side entrance there. You couldn't see it before. But what this does as well is buyers would love to buy new construction, but typically it's out of their price range, unless, depending on their price range, of course. But when a buyer sees smaller shrubbery and plants and fresh paint, it's this feels new. This feels newer. And it starts evoking the emotional response of, I need to have this home. Well, with that, we had competing offers with the home and sold it for way over asking. So when you come down to paint and the preparation phase, some of the photos that I showed you at the beginning with the paint, staging is really, really important, because I think I mentioned before that when a buyer walks in the door, they will pay more money for a home if they have a positive visceral feel when they walk in the door. You need to wow them when they walk in the door. It's so important to do that. So let's talk about staging. Now, staging, I should mention, I think I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but staging, the preparation and staging, we do this, the organization of this and everything, we do this as part of our services for the same fee that other agents in town charge. So we just do it because it's important. It gets our sellers higher prices, and that's the key. That's really important to us. And it sells their home faster, and they're happy, because the more times you have buyers wanting to buy a home, the sellers are, oh, this is great. There's a lot of people want my home. I love my home, and other people can see how wonderful my home is. Whereas if a home's on the market for 6 months and buyer after buyer after buyer after buyer is coming in, and buyers are offering lower prices for the home, it's sort of, I love my home, but nobody else loves my home. So it's a really powerful emotion to have lots of people wanting your home. So staging. Here's our truck. It's funny, we have this photo in here, but our truck died, I think in October or November, around then.
Yep.
We have another one on order. It's coming, it's being
Hopefully
built.
This month
It was
is
being
built.
Yes.
It's being built. I have no idea what that means, but apparently it's being built. The box are on the back is being built, actually.
And the chassis and
the chassis is all done.
through,
Yeah, that's all came through. That was a hard thing to get. But hopefully we will get that this month, early next month.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
So we're getting another truck. Because we stage so many homes that it makes sense to do this. Let's talk about some metrics with regard to staging. So these are not our metrics. These are metrics that are known in the real estate industry. So when you talk about 83% of buyers agents said a staged home helped buyers visualize the property as a future home. Folks struggle to visualize a home without furniture in it because it's so important. Oh, we should talk about what's starting to happen now is agents are starting to virtually stage homes. Bad idea. You might get the buyers to come and see the home because of the photos online with all this beautiful furniture, and then they walk in the door and, oh. And once you lose the buyers, again, it's that positive visceral feel. They're walking in expecting to be wowed with the photos that they saw online. Oh my goodness. And they walk in the door and it's, you've lost them at that point. So virtual staging is really not a good idea. But anyway, 25% of buyers agents said potential buyers increased their offer between 1% and 5% on a staged home. So let's talk about $1 million, which is below the average sale price in Lexington. And let's talk about 5%, between 1% and 5%. That's $50,000. That's some serious money just by having some staging in your home. We can give example after example where staging has made a huge difference. And 85% of homes surveyed was sold for 6 to 25% more than homes that were not staged. Another key metric. So let's talk about staging. It creates an emotional response from the buyer. Again, that positive visceral feel when they walk in the door and, oh, wow. And they understand because buyers know how big a bedroom is if they see a queen bed in there and they see 2 side tables and they see things like that. That gives them some scale and some proportion. They really get a feel for how big the room is. With nothing in there, I don't know whether I'd be able to fit a queen size bed in here or not. So it gives perspective, definitely.
So another reason not to virtually stage, one, you'll disappoint the buyers, but secondly, you'll lose the benefit of them being able to see how to use the space or whether their existing furniture will fit within the space.
Absolutely. Now, other agents charge for staging, or the seller pays the staging company directly. As I mentioned before, it's included as part of our services for our sellers. We think it's so important. We have about 16 housefuls of furniture that we have a staging team. We have a staging professional. She's an interior designer, and she organizes the staging. We have she does a virtual consultation at the moment. It's virtual. She has severe asthma, and we just think it's important to keep her safe with going into people's homes. Depersonalize and declutter, important, really important. And the staging furniture and accessories is based on what your need is, because most people are living in their home while the home's on the market. Very few homes are vacant, and we're selling them as vacant homes, fully staged. So we work with your furniture. We might recommend something being moved, or if you've got a multicolored rug, we might recommend that being rolled up and popped in the basement, and we'll bring in a white tufted rug that grounds the furniture. We suggest you might have non-matching side tables in your bedroom. Well, we'll bring in matching side tables with matching lamps and bedding and all of this. So it's all depends on each home as to what's needed. At this point in 2021, we're asking sellers to not be home while our stages are in the home, though. That's, again, from a safety and health perspective. You know, we can't have them getting sick and all of this sort of stuff. Did that make sense? Here's an example. This is a photo of a home that was on the market for 206 days, unsold, with another agent. Now, as you walk in the door, you may not know that this is the dining room, but you know now, with staging furniture in there, you know it's the dining room. And this one was we had competing offers on the home. It came on the market for 2.2, and we sold it for 2.265. Competing offers over $2 million are quite rare, but the home. Oh, this was our interested observer client. He was our interested observer, so we just took care of it and made it happen. Here's another photo of the same home in the living room, and with furniture. Just feels more warm and cozy. Here's an example of a room. As a buyer would, often you find rooms where the buyers, it's hard to really work out what the room is for and how you would use it. And this room was one of those. When you look at it, hard to tell that it would be a dining room. But now you know it's a dining room just by placing furniture around the home. Here's another home with the living room. Again, doesn't sort of feel really inviting, but it feels really inviting with staging furniture in it. Here's a bedroom, okay, but this looks a dramatically different, nice feeling room with furniture. New construction. New construction can almost sell itself, but when I say it can almost sell itself, there is a premium for new construction. Buyers want new construction. But this builder was telling us when he was building it that he was building the house along the Studio McGee design principle. So when we came in and staged it, we staged it in the Studio McGee design principle. And we have all sorts of furniture for all sorts of homes because there's a need for it. So this home came on the market for 2.7, and we sold it in 3 weeks. Staging makes a huge difference. Here's another photo of the for sale by owner that I told you about that was on the market. This was the family room. And there's the family room with some furniture in it, staging furniture. This is another photo of this one. This is probably a key one to talk about because A lot of homes have rooms that are ill-defined. If it's vacant, you don't really know what those rooms are for or how they could be used. You'll often see in MLS, versatile floor plan, unique floor plan, flexible floor plan. So this was a flexible floor plan. At the front here was the living room. And here you've got the dining room. You can see the dining room light fixture. Well, okay, what's this room for? What's this room for? Well, with furniture in it, we put living room furniture in the front there, dining room furniture here, and this was the pre and post dinner drinks room. So by using furniture to show people how they can use a space means that they can, again, key thing, imagine living in the home. That is really, really important. So, Marcus,
my turn.
on to you.
Marketing.
Yes.
So
Marketing.
we've done all this work. We've prepared the home. We've staged the home. Now, of course, the key is to get it out in front of potential buyers. And it's all about, guess what? Exposure, exposure, exposure. And in this market, digital media is key to selling that home because, as I'll show in a minute, if you can, once you look at how often people are looking at the digital assets, the digital media, the 3D tour, the video, the floor plan, the brochure, and so on, that really does give you an insight into how successful that home is going to be on the market. So it's important. We can see that there are lots and lots of views of the digital media correlate to, first of all, getting offers, and with multiple offers, a higher sale price. So it's really, really important that you're able, first of all, to see that information, but also it's important to note that that's how today's buyers look at homes. If you think back to a couple of months ago, most buyers were not going into homes. They were looking at everything online. We had the situations where people were buying homes essentially without having gone in the home. But what was happening was that buyers were looking at homes, deciding which homes to actually physically go and see by looking at the digital media. Previously, they would just go along to the open house and have a look anyway. That disappeared, and that will continue in 2021. They're going to look at everything about the home, all the digital media. Yes, that's a home I'm interested in, and then they're going to go to make a private showing on that home. Or they're going to queue up, although I don't think they're going to queue up at the open house.
That's sort of
essentially what they can do,
the
make the decision to do that. So in 2020, we rolled out a listing dashboard, which is served two purposes really. The first of all was to give a very easy app-based, it's based on an Android and an Apple app, a very easy way to see what's going on with their home sale, how far along they are. You know, if they're in that before you come on the market, when is the staging plan for? When are we going on the market? When can I anticipate the photographs to occur? All of that information. When it's on the market, you get to see how many times people have viewed the digital media, how many times with the floor plan and so on. Shall I show it or shall I just go on the screen?
Yeah, no, you should show it. But it's interesting too because the reason that we pulled this together is we sold a home, we bought a home on the market. No, we didn't. We had a home for sale down in the DC area, I think about 2 years ago. And we used a fantastic agent, but we had no idea when things were happening. No idea whatsoever. We didn't even know when it was going in MLS and all of this.
Right.
And we looked at it from the perspective of a consumer. Well, gee, how do we improve that for our clients? And this is why we came up with the listing dashboard and also a buying dashboard. So it's the information is in the one place and you can go and see it. You can look at it as many times in the day as you want and get real-time information about it.
So what I'm going to do is show you a couple of homes we have on the market. I get to see more homes than you would, of course. What a prospective buyer or seller will see is just their transaction.
Just their home.
Their home.
The information for their
So you'll
home.
see when I go into the dashboard, you can see two here. But let me go and look at 11 Sherman, for example. So here is the pre-listing phase. This is before we come on the market. These are all the key dates, some notes in terms of what's going on. But as you get into the on-market phase, here you can see, for example, this is the 3D tour views. You can see that large peak of 3D tours in the first week or so that we're on the market.
And we typically know that when a home comes on a Thursday and we plan to review offers, this one's a little higher price, so it's not as typical with that. And we plan to review offers on the Tuesday. If we can get 40 or more viewings of the 3D tour in the first 2 days, that correlates with about 20 plus private showings, which correlates to about 2 plus offers. So a seller can see this information real time, how many people are looking at this sort of info.
And it's interesting is as we bring a home on the market on the Thursday, you'll see a peak in the viewings Thursday and Friday. It actually drops off on a Saturday because they've either decided this is a home for them or not. If they've decided it's a home for them, they're physically going to see the home. But then we'll see the number of views pick up as we get into that Sunday time frame. So they've decided to go view the home. Now I'm going to look at the home. Having looked at the home, the next thing I'm going to do is go look again at the digital media to make sure that it was something I liked. So this is the listing dashboard. It's a way of you getting real-time insight in terms of what's happening. This is the 3D tour. We can also show you how many views there have been of the website, for example. So all of the key digital media, you can see how many viewings we've had of that. So
yeah, and people love it. We just published today a client success story of a home that we bought on the market late in the year, and the seller just loved it and he raved about it, which was really cool because it's he was a data person and he loved seeing the information real time as to what's going on, and it gave him a sense of calm. And this is what he was saying, it gave him a sense of calm. You can go and read it if you like by going to testimonials page or about
on
us
our website.
Client success stories. Anyway, let's keep going.
Marketing. So there are lots of different components to marketing. Photographs, video, 3D tours. I'm going to go through some of these as we can go through. But it's key to get that comprehensive digital marketing out there. Everything today has to be digital because that's how prospective buyers are going to view that home. They're not going to just go to the open house because why wouldn't they? Having got all that in place, then it's the trick then is to get it out to interested people, interested prospective buyers. We do that in 2 respects. First of all, we go broad with social media, spreading it wide, spreading the message wide. As well as that, we go narrow, targeted through targeted email campaigns, getting it out to people that we know are interested in a home valued at this price in this town, based on the information we have about the prospective buyer. So photographs clearly sell. It's the first thing that people see when they go onto a Zillow or a Redfin or a Trulia or wherever it may be. The first thing they see are the photographs, and professional photographs are really the key, the bedrock, if you will, of any marketing campaign, especially a digital one. So be it a contemporary or a somewhere older home, it has to be photographed beautifully. And you can see, the consequences of very poor marketing in these 2 photographs.
They're not ours.
They're not our. They're not our listed photographs. It's actually the same kitchen. And what's disappointing with the photograph on the left is that it's been staged. They've done the preparation. They've staged that home. It's ready to go. All that effort has been spent. Unfortunately, the photography let it down. And as you can see that there. The photograph on the right is showing the kitchen to its full potential. And when you think people are looking at these photographs, deciding whether to go view a home, they're much more likely to look at the home on the right than they are the home on the left. And we see example after example of this. Here's a kitchen. If you look closely, you can see that photograph is really blurred. Mm-hmm. Ours again, is the photograph on the right. That's the way, right? That's the way you have to do it. Here's a kitchen, again, not staged. None of
with an iPhone,
right? None of the conversation that Danny had around preparation and staging has been followed. And then just to cap it all, it was a photograph taken with an iPhone.
And we should point out that these are photos of homes done by one of the top 10 agents in Lexington.
There's another one you
no
can't.
Comment?
No,
I'm not
comment.
We're not going to tell.
I see these all the time, so it doesn't mean.
Yes.
I see poor photographs. I saw one the other day that had been taken. The agent was literally taking a photograph of the home while people were in the home, and they didn't even. In some cases, you could see the person was blurry because they were still moving, and he was literally just doing this in the home. So anyway. So, more poor photographs.
Look at this one. Look at how blurry that is. And you don't even know what that room is.
I have no idea what room it is. I'm assuming it's a kitchen. I don't really know.
Might be a dining room.
Who knows? Could be.
But it's really blurry, whatever it is.
Right, very poor. So, photographs clearly matters. That's the first one. To be honest, it's the easiest one to do as well. Everything else takes more effort. And in many cases, agents don't even get the photographs right. Video is clearly the next media that people are anticipating. They're expecting videos around the home, and we do a whole array of different videos about a home. We see some examples here. Top 5 reasons you love this home. The one on the upper left is a sneak peek where we put a GoPro on a dog's back and get him to take you around the home. Let me actually show you that. Why are we all very well talking about it, but why don't we show you it? So the idea here is it's designed specifically to get interaction on social media. That's the key. And here, there's some amusing comments. It's a kind of a cute way to do it. But the whole reason we're doing this really is to get that interaction on social media. Because once you get that interaction, people say, "Oh, you should see this home," and before you know it, it's kind of gone viral.
It's exposure.
And that's key.
Exposure.
The other video we do, the usual, the video you would expect, of course. I mean, that is around showcasing the home. This is a home that we had on the market late last year. And here we kind of walk you through the home, showing you the key aspects of the home. Clearly, the way that it gives you a different perspective than the somewhat two-dimensional photographs, but it's key to showcasing the home. Having done that, let me go back to this. Having done that, the next key thing is 3D tours. And I thought what I would do here is jump a slide ahead, if you like, and show you how we kind of showcase this, all this digital media, present it to the prospective home buyer. So here's actually the same home we just saw the video of there. All the information about the home in one place. In this case, 27merriam.com, whatever it may be, 114ridge.com, 11sherburn.com, a domain where you can go for all the information about that home. Here you have your price and some information about the home. There's the key details of the home, and then a set of narrative walking you essentially through that home together with a series of photographs that you can kind of page through the photographs. You're kind of going into that home. And so we kind of walk you through the home as best we can with the narrative of the photographs. I'll skip forward here and then to the back garden and so on. It's a big house. It goes on and on, this one. Here's that video I showed you, another video in a moment. But one thing I did want to show you was the 3D tour, because the website, the photos, the video, everything really, we're in control of this. The 3D tour allows the prospective buyer to be in control. They can go wherever they want, whenever they want. Even in today's environment, buyers have a limited amount of accessibility to a home. They may be only allowed in there for 15, 20 minutes, because there's another private showing organized after them. So they have a limited opportunity in some cases to be able to get into the home. And what the 3D tour allows them to do is when they get home, back to what I was saying about the way the 3D tour views go, lots on Thursday and Friday, not much on Saturday. Sunday they kick off again. Sunday and Monday they kick off again. Because that's buyers saying, you know, I saw this home with that private showing. I don't really remember how big the bedroom was and so on. But as you can walk around this home as you see fit, looking at all aspects. You can spend as long as you want. Let's say you can go to all kind of different areas of the home. You can go upstairs. I don't know what's upstairs in this home. I shall go upstairs. I just wonder, it's a big home. I just wondered how long it's going to take me to get upstairs. There we go. So there you can, you know, look at all, you know, there's an office there. I don't remember what the office looked like. How big was it? You know, is it going to work for me? So you can do all of that from the comfort of your own home.
2 o'clock in the morning if you're worrying about it.
There you go. A couple of other different views that this gives you, which is quite useful. This is a floor plan. We still have the schematic floor plan that most people are used to, but this is a floor plan with the furniture in, allowing you to kind of see
that perspective.
Right. The other thing we have, I'm going to do that. This one will work for this one.
It always works.
Yeah, I know. I find this rather confusing sometimes. But you can see, for example, I'm going to guess this is the master bedroom here. Yep. I'm going to say this is probably the garage underneath.
Yes,
you know, it gives you that kind of perspective on the home. Useful as well if it's hard to see with this home, but if you have a smaller home, perhaps a Cape. Where do I put the second bathroom? It only has a single bathroom, or is there a half bathroom? How easy is it to expand it?
Look where the wine cellar is downstairs. See?
Oh, right.
Look at that.
There we go.
It's a stunning wine cellar.
There we go.
Anyway.
So that's the 3D tour. As I say, it's been useful. It's always been useful for that kind of buyer's remorse, kind of how big was that office again? Those kind of questions. Even more important in this environment too, where you say you do potentially have a limited amount of time in that home. So there's the video I talked about. We do a virtual open house too, where this is where the agent takes you around the home, opening closets, taking you to the unfinished basement. Really gives you, in this case, it was probably
opening kitchen cabinets,
all kinds of things.
Yeah,
yes, exactly what you would do if you were at an open house, if you had the opportunity to go there.
Why don't you just start it just quickly, and let's just. So this is just starting off.
Let me jump in, shall I? There we go.
Yeah. So.
There we go, opening closets. Yeah. There we go. As you said, opening closets, doing all kinds of things. Say taking you to a basement, really giving you again, we're the director, but the 3D tour doesn't open closets for you. This tool does. So that's key in terms of the virtual open house.
Oh, look, actually we should show you. This is a series of videos that we've been just doing recently. Called a Selling Essentials series of videos. I think there's something like 80 or so done already.
Do you want me to show how you get to them?
Yeah, why not? Just quickly, won't be long. Because we often get questions from sellers, and so this is a frequently asked questions. All different topics. It ranges from general questions about the market. It talks, and here's how you get there. And it's under Selling Essentials, cool. And general, preparing your home for sale, on the market. What happens under agreement to close? And there's a whole array of topics in there as well. And they're lots of different things.
Who does my agent represent? What's dual agency?
Best time to sell in order of priority.
What's the market analysis?
I got a letter in my mailbox saying an agent has a buyer for my home. Should I call? No, they're scamming you.
You don't need to see the video now. You can just...
But there's lots and lots and lots of videos with all different sorts of topics. So enjoy, go have a look. And more are being added every day.
So back to the back to marketing. Danny mentioned the property brochure that many buyers were reluctant to pick them up at private showings. So we put them online, exactly the same as what we would print when we start printing them again. Here's that schematic floor plan I talked about. We have that as well on the website as well, actually. Some photographs, and then the all-important what's happening with the market. You know, this brochure was done towards the end of 2020, as well as where is the home in relation to the schools and so on in the home. So lots and lots of information on the website. We finish it up with a map showing you, guess what, relationship of the house to the schools and the house to public transport, which perhaps not as important today, but clearly will become important moving forward. So that's all the marketing components, and then really packaged together into a website, single source of information about that home, what today's buyers demand. At the end of the day, that's what the way all consumers demand content today, and housing is clearly no different from that. So having done that, now of course the trick is to get it out in front of prospective buyers. Two sources for that, two ways of doing that. First of all is around social media. Here's some examples of some homes just listed.
Home of the week,
virtual open house, all of that's there. Pushed out on social media, but guess what? You've got to have that high quality photographs, otherwise people are just not going to engage with it. Secondly, you have to have somewhere behind it where the prospective buyer can find all the information about the home. And that's exactly what these do. If you click through on this, it would take you through to, guess what? The website. So that's the first strategy, is to be broad in terms of getting it out there. And then the next strategy is to be targeted in terms of the emails you send. So if somebody's engaged with us, perhaps shown an interest in $1.x million homes in Lexington, then if we have a $1.x million home coming on the market, then we're sure to send it out to them and say, hey, this looks like it will fit your criteria for a home in this town. So that's the other. And
we have every person that has inquired about the home, inquired about a home, or been to an open house at a price point, they're all in our database. So we send that information out to them. And it's targeted email marketing. It's important.
Not just social media is broad, email targeted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's done. Number 1, smart decisions. 2, preparation. 3, staging. 4, marketing. 5 is excellence through teamwork. What do we mean by that? That's a catchphrase. What do we mean by that? It means that we have a team of specialists working to get your home on the market and to bring it on the market the best way it can be. I can stage homes. I've done that in my earlier part of the career. I can stage homes. I don't stage as well as our interior designer can stage homes. So she's a specialist doing that. She's fantastic at doing that. We have our listing coordinator. I can write verbiage for a home, nowhere like she can. We've had so many sellers that sort of say, wow, I wouldn't have really recognized my home, but she's articulated it so welcoming and so warm. And so we have specialists doing it. Our marketing, we have specialists doing them. So it's not that we're a team and we're all discombobulated. Is that a word?
Yes, it is a word.
Maybe
not the right word, but it's a word. No, I think it is.
We have a team of specialists all working to get with you as the center of our focus, our center of our universe, if you like. The agent works with all of the people in the team and works with the client to get the home on the market. The same with the listing coordinator and the marketing coordinator and the staging and preparation and closing. We're all working together to get your home on the market, because our goal is to sell your home for the most amount of money in the least amount of time and zero hassle or stress. Because it's things like that that mean that it's a relationship for life. That's creating experiences where people will talk, people will talk about it. How was your experience selling? Oh, it was terrible. Oh, it was fantastic. It was so... Go and have a look at some of our client success stories on our website and check them out. I mean, it's we like those reactions because it makes... This is why we do what we do. I once had a seller who was so worried about the results of what had happened with the competing offer situation with his home. He came to my home. He just wanted to get out of the house, I guess, and he came here, and we're sitting chatting for about 15 minutes, and then after about 15 minutes, I said, David, do you want to know what happened to your home? And I told him the results of what happened, and he jumped up in his chair, and he started running around the house, and he ran outside. Oh, I can't breathe. He was so excited about the result that we'd gotten for his home. That's why we do what we do, because that feels good, that we've made a difference in someone's life, and a great difference in someone's life. Our core values: integrity and ethical behavior. We're not going to do the wrong thing by our clients, period. We're just not. Education, not selling. That's why we're doing these things, is to give you as much information about the whole selling process and what's important, so that you know if you're talking to someone else, you know the sorts of things to demand from others. And exceptional customer service. But that's not just us saying why it's important to use the right person. You want to use a professional. You don't want to use Aunt Mary. You want someone who does it day in and day out and knows how to get you the highest price. There's a term in the industry called a 3Ps agent. And unfortunately, a lot of agents are 3Ps agents. And what a 3Ps agent is someone who puts it into MLS, someone who puts a sign out front, and someone who prays. That's what they do. But it's not just us saying this. The National Association of Realtors commissioned an independent study to say what are the biggest threats to the real estate industry. And the biggest threat to the real estate industry was that masses of marginal agents destroy the reputation. The real estate industry is saddled with a large number of part-time, untrained, unethical, and/or incompetent agents. This knowledge gap threatens the credibility of the industry. So how do you choose an agent? We're just going to do a bit of, bear with us for a minute with this. How do you choose an agent? So if you're living in Lexington, and maybe you're not, there's 282 agents in Lexington. That's a lot of agents. Last year, actually, I have to say this data is a year old, but we haven't updated it to, we're at the 13th of January, so I apologize. 86 agents listed a home last year. 86 of those 282 listed a home. So 200 agents didn't list a home. Of those, only 18 listed more than 5 homes. Why is that important? So that's important because if you're going to get the 3D tour done, you're going to get a floor plan done, you're going to get a video done, you're going to get all of these components done, you need to know who to call. You need to have processes in place and systems in place to have it happen in a timely fashion so that when you come on the market, everything's done and everything's ready to go, because the first weekend is absolutely key. But let's say, okay, how do you choose? Well, here's again the top 10 agents with their top 10 agents and the number of homes that they sold in 2019. So this is us. The next agent did 26, we did 40, and then you go down, these are the top 10 agents. We're not going to name who they are. That's not important. How many homes, so long as there's more than 5, that's not so important. What's important is what the sale price to list price ratio is. So the sale price to list price ratio are these points here. So look at this agent here, Agent J. If you list with that person, 94%. So if you bring on a home, let's say $1 million, which remember the average sale price in Lexington was 1.4 in 2020. If you bring on $1 million home, way lower than the average sale price, Agent J is potentially going to get you $940,000 for that $1 million home. If you list with us at 103%, we could on average get $1,030,000 for that. That's a large difference. That's $90,000 worth of difference just because of the key components of the 5 things we've talked about in the 5 pillars we've talked about today, which being smart decisions, preparation, staging, marketing, and excellence through teamwork. So who are our agents? There's myself, Marcus, there's Rachel, Andrew, Yuki, Corinne, and Wenjen. And we have, it's like a family, which is really, really nice. We all enjoy going into work when we can. We can't at the moment. Hopefully one day soon we'll
Hopefully
be
soon
back
we
to,
can.
And we just have a great time, and they've all got the same ethics, the same integrity, the same core competence, the core focus.
Core values.
So we want to just digress quickly to buying in 2021. We did mention we do have a buyer's masterclass coming up. We do have the dates for that coming in this next section. And Marcus, you're on.
Buying in 2021?
Yes. When and how?
When and how? Seeing a home. It used to be that you would go to open houses. We've had open houses even in the early part of 2020. Back in that February timeframe, we could have 100 groups through an open house on a Saturday and 50 through on a Sunday. Those clearly are gone, so it's not business as usual. Masks are clearly required. Most homes don't have open houses, and as Danny mentioned before, those that do are somewhat challenged. Be prepared to wait, and that was writ large last weekend as we were driving around, came around the corner.
You've got photos of it.
You've got photos, because it was just really that many people. That many people. It was surprising that many people were willing to wait. But remember, that's the people who are willing to wait. There's an awful lot that just weren't. So you got a lot less people through the home.
Yeah.
So the way to do showings of homes.
And 2 hours later, some of those may not have been willing to wait. Let's just, they give up in disgust on going.
They would give up way before 2 hours because they could have organised a private showing at another house. So private showing is really the way to go. Much preferred way to do it by everybody really at the end of the day. Digital media is critical too, as I mentioned under the marketing section. That's how buyers make a decision whether to go and even see a home. There is still some risk, there is some inconvenience. And so let's make sure that, look at this home, make sure it fits the bill for what I am actually looking for. Once it does, then I'm willing to go and look at the home. Most homes do not have overlapping private showings, so you're potentially not going to get to spend as long in that home as you might have previously. Albeit, if you went to open houses, they're usually very crowded. That's a very inconvenient, not a great environment really. But still, private showings potentially with a little bit less time to be able to spend in that home, and potentially, as you mentioned, with we're talking about open houses, scary situations. Maybe there is another group in the home. Maybe you're not comfortable with that. Maybe the homeowner's home. We've had those situations arise. We anticipated the home was going to be vacant. We walked in and guess what? Everybody is still there. So there is this kind of some scary situation. So be a bit flexible, bring a sense of humor if you can, as you're going to see those homes. But we can make it happen.
Accompanied showings. We went to see a home over the weekend, and our buyers were very nervous about going into a home with other people in the home. And I called the agent. It was an accompanied showing. Don't ever accompanied show. That's another soapbox.
That's another video, hopefully. That's
yes,
probably the first one you did. That was the first one you did.
It is in the Selling Essentials, accompanied showings. No. Because what happened in this is I went to see the agent first to sort of say, look, my buyers are very concerned about the health and safety. The agent was there with her 2 teenage children. And I sort of explained a little bit to the agent that, look, can we please have you outside while the buyers are going through the home? And she's, well, I'll get my children outside, but I need to stay in the home. The sellers want me in the home because the buyers are... Anyway, she was getting really, really snippy. The buyers didn't see any of this, but I went and got the buyers from the car, and the agent just sort of stood at the door to the deck, and the buyers came in, and she's snipping at us, telling us what we need to do, and we got through to we went through the kitchen, and then to the dining room, and then into the living room, and the buyers are whispering to me, can we please leave? We feel very, very uncomfortable with this agent. We feel very uncomfortable being in this home. Remember what I said about you'll get the highest price for a home when the buyers walk in the door and you have a positive visceral feel? Didn't happen in this home. In fact, they got a very negative visceral feel, and they just wanted to leave. We didn't even see the whole home. That happens, and that's a scary situation. Sorry, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, I like talking. Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, so seeing a home. Private showings, we can get you in though. It can happen. It can and does happen clearly. Inspections. The situation last year changed as the year went along. In many cases, the inspectors were not allowing buyers to even attend, and so the buyers had to rely on a report that they saw, which I would personally was never happy with. That situation is changing because there's a lot. The reason I wasn't happy was there's a lot of nuance that the inspector talks about as they're going around the home. Things like how do you replace the air conditioning filter, for example. You're not going to get that in the report, and so much of the nuance of the discussion was lost. Luckily, that will be behind us. I'm almost sure as we move forward. Yeah. But now we're going to be back to normal. Although it potentially will just be the inspector and one of the buyers, maybe 2 of the buyers. So we've had that situation too. But that looks to be getting back to normal with what we saw, in 2019. Financing. Some appraisals are still drive-by. The appraisals are not going in the home. And not only do we have the potential for lower appraisals, we actually had the reality of some lower appraisals last year, which we haven't seen for a long time. Perhaps more prevalent than that was the slowness of loan processing, though. If you look at, and we'll do it next weekend, we'll look next week when we do the seminar, we'll look at the mortgage interest rates.
Right.
How low the mortgage interest rates are. What that's meant was more buyers in the market, but also more homeowners refinancing too. And so to a large extent, the banks just became overwhelmed by the number of people asking for loans. And therefore, we found much slower loan processing, closings being delayed. We'll see how it plays out this year. But certainly potential for lower appraisals, but definitely the reality of slower loan processing times as the system creaked at the seams, as it were, because of so many people, and with people who would ordinarily be in the office now trying to do that job working from home. So we'll see how this year plays out in terms of has everybody refinanced, because I don't think rates can go much lower than they are right now. So hopefully that will be a little better as we come into 2021. As Danny mentioned, we are going to do a buyer's masterclass, not next week, but actually the week after, the 26th. where we go into all kinds of things. Myself and Corinne are going to do that. We go into all kinds of aspects of the buying process, all the way from home search, how do you time a buy and a sell, the financing, the attorney aspects, all of those different aspects we will go into.
And while we're talking about masterclasses, we're getting right near the end now. I just do want to stress that next Wednesday, we're doing an in-depth look at the 2020 Lexington market. You really need to join us, because it's got some amazing information in it, and it's just a precursor of the market review, the booklet that you'll be getting in the mail maybe late January. So with just some analysis. Real-time analysis, real-time. Anyway,
Almost 2 weeks delayed. Almost real-time.
So why we do this is because we think that our clients deserve to be the smartest person at the closing table. We think that our client deserves to be the smartest person at the closing table. We've got that plural and singular, sorry about that. And that we all benefit by becoming smarter about home buying and selling. I mean, if we can help you with this and knowing what's going on, it'll make it a much more comfortable experience for you and for us as well. And thank you. Thank you for joining us and spending some time with us. We really appreciate you doing that. And look, if we can help in any way possible, please let us know. This is the one challenge I find with doing these online masterclasses, because we normally do them in person. And we know if you've got questions, we answer your questions, we continue. And right. We have no knowledge whether we answered your questions or not, or whether you've still got more questions. So please reach out if you do. We'd love to help.
We would.
So, bye.
Bye.